These are always fun. We'll start up here just because it seems like we've had a lot of problems recent. The jacks, they get damaged a lot. Most of the time it's just they'll bend these bolts. They move them or drag them with the jack down. We want the jack to be functional. The wheels, they like to get busted off too. Verify that our wheels are good. Definitely inspect your couplers. We don't want it coming off. I think he actually touches on that in here on the couplers. But just when you're hooking these up, make sure everything latches, the pins are in, so it won't come off the vehicle. I've seen people that want to tow them like this, they'll come off. They want to tow them like this, they'll come off. Just it's not, it may look latched, it's not if you don't get all the way around the ball.
I've seen a lot, Eric, just to interrupt you here, but I've seen a lot of people replace these jacks and then put this bracket on backwards. So you need to make sure that when you put this bracket on, that these bolts are top and bottom of that tube. Because a lot of times it does fit the other way, but then there's a lot of play in here, and then everything gets into a bind again. So if you have to replace one, make sure you're replacing it that way. The way that this one's sitting is correct.
Yep. Check the condition of your chains, your breakaway chains.
What's your opinion there?
Oh, yeah.
Put a real pin.
Yeah, that needs a real pin, not wire. Yeah, if anybody sees this, somebody's just ran some wire through instead of a pin. These get damaged a lot too. If they're bent over or been yanked, you need to address that. Obviously, the emergency brake, make sure it works. I know most customers probably don't use it, but it needs to work. We'll just start working back. Platform, this one's got a little bit of damage. If there's holes in the floor, I see a lot of where they'll run chainsaws down through the tubes. We got to down it. This is all that's holding that person in the air. So if it's damaged at all, it needs to be addressed. Again, anything that's aerial, make sure the manual's there. 99% of the time, if it's zip tie, they're there, but don't always take it for granted. These on the controls up here, these get damaged a lot. Again, this is an L number, an M number, no boot. Not much of a boot. Even though there's a function here on this one, it still lets water get into the joystick. I see a lot of problem with these sticking. Oh yeah, we're missing a screw. I get a lot of them where it won't return to center, it won't function. Most of the time it's just gummed up, but sometimes it's a bad switch. Yeah, somebody's already put tape over a hole here. But again, I mean, this has to be legible. If we can clean this stuff off, we need to clean it off. If we can't, we need to replace it. That's just part of the safety, and it's got to be for the operator. E-stops, they get damaged all the time. Just make sure they function. Condition of your cord here. I don't get many on these, but if they are damaged, you need to catch it so we can charge. Not a lot of people use these, but they're there, so if they're not there, you need to make sure we replace it or make note of it. These baskets do come off, so make sure your bolt is in there. If that bolt's not in there, it'll come right out. He does have a section in here on this. If you have a jib that won't raise or won't stay up, this is for emergency lowering. Turn this counterclockwise to release it, it'll bleed down. If you don't put it back, it'll raise, but it immediately comes right back down. Just verify that's there. Just do a quick visual on everything where the pins are. Make sure they have a retainer. And it's not very frequent at all. You see it, but there's a chance it can be broken. I've seen them on the big booms where they'll shear these right off, and there's no retainer pin. Condition of your hoses. The other side, you got your cable track. They get damaged a lot, and there's a lot of electrical that runs through that too. So if it's pinched or bent, it needs to be addressed. Everybody aware of what's under here? This is the life of the machine. Typically, a hydraulic leak here is going to be an O-ring.
I was just getting ready to say,
Yeah.
I've had a lot of those going bad lately.
Yep. We did have a run for a while where they machine these. You see all these plugs. It's just where they cross machine them. They just plug them off. Well, there was one on the inside of the tank that would just fall out. So if you lose all functions and your pump's running, that's what it is. Make sure this is in there. Make sure your jack handle's in there. That's emergency recovery. If somebody gets stranded in there, they can get them down, or we can get them down. I see a lot of them missing that handle, and we need to have that handle in there. We'll move to the outriggers. These typically don't last long. They're to protect the rod. Obviously, too, before you set it down, check that all these are free, not binding up. Because if they are, it might go down like it is now, but as they're up in the air, it can break free and cause an off level. There we go. Always look at your cylinder rods. They will drop things on them and they get bent. It'll eat the gland seal out real quick. If you do have a bent one, we need to get it on the record for the customer before the ticket's closed, and obviously get it repaired. If you have any time, you're setting these up in the yard, and when your switches don't come on, they're all right here on each outrigger. Just verify it's not broken. Your battery, same thing as over there, same type of battery. Check your connections in your water. If you have one that's locked and won't turn, it's in the book, but these, for whatever reason, they won't do 360, and they have a stop, and 9 times out of 10 when it hits the stop, it don't have enough power to pull it back off the stop. Just a 7/8 socket, a ratchet, you can do it by hand. Once it comes off the stop, it'll take off on its own. Just a quick inspection. Never really have a problem with these turret bolts, but if they're loose or missing, then we got a big problem. I have seen, not so much lately, but they were putting this hose and harness bundles in, twisted, and when you rotate the machine, it pulls it tight and will disconnect the connector or damage the hose. Fenders, it's got to have the fenders. They're damaged. Obviously, inspect your wheels and tires. They're back here. Taillights, obviously, they're no different than a trailer. They got to work. They get damaged all the time. This one back here in particular seems to always get damaged, swinging into things. Also, with the limit switches, they run up through this bundle. Actually, down here you can see them better. One is for your limit switch, one is for your tail light. These get damaged a lot. Same thing with your charger. Verify it's charging. And then we get a lot of these that get rented out. They're plugged into an outlet that's not working. And just make sure it's powering up. Because it pull right off the line and it'll be dead. If it does trip the breaker, we've got a problem either with the charger or the plug. And this is where they plug in. I've had a lot of service calls where a lot of techs tell them to plug it in up here for the platform power to charge it, and that doesn't work. This is where all the brains are. So if there's damage to that cover, by all means check it out. Because if this is damaged, it's not going to work. Or not work for long. And then you got your platform power. These plugs are always missing. Make sure they're on there in good shape. And then that's your air hookup. Or no, actually that's the water, isn't it? This is your air, that's your water. The alarms. Everybody hates them, they're annoying, but make sure they're plugged in when they leave, make sure they work. Yeah, and that's really it on these, I do believe.